Yes. Awesome.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
I just started the recording now.
Excellent.
Just tell me when to pull up the PowerPoint.
Okay, we'll get going here in 1 minute. It's great to see everybody popping on. I'm hopeful that our listening session is the most well-attended listening session. Not that we have a competitive group here on our planning team. Why don't you go ahead and pull it up, Amanda? That'd be great. So first of all, welcome everyone. Thank you for making time today to attend our listening session. We have PowerPoint slides today that we thought would really help our conversation be very succinct and kind of guide our conversation. I don't think we can, here we go. We'll wait till those pull up. Can you go into slide view? Okay.
Yeah.
So we are, just to tee this up a little bit, and I am not going to be the person talking the most. I'm Amy Thompson, and if you don't know me, I'm just on 4 months now as the new provost. So excited to be here and having this conversation with you. So our group is focused on student success in the transformational student experience. And so actually, there are 2 groups that are working within the subjective area. One is more focused on student service piece and student success, and we are focused very much on kind of that academic piece or curricular piece. Next slide, please. So we are actually objective 1 on student experience, the transformational student experience, and I am the lead facilitator of this. Can everybody else hear me okay? Is everybody catching? Okay, good. All right, next slide. So just to reiterate, as we are linking our conversation and being laser focused of going back to our Wright State mission and vision, those statements are listed again on this slide for you, and I'm not going to read them for you, but I think it just helps remind us that we really are trying to transform the communities that we serve and to really provide a innovative education for our students. Next slide. So our planning committee, our team, if you will, are listed as a very diverse group from across both campuses. And I can't say enough about how wonderful our team has been. We've been meeting on a regular basis. And again, from the board chair serving on this, from people from the provost office, from Lake Campus, from staff senate, from tenure track to lectures, senior lectures, from the teaching Center for Teaching Excellence, from a dean perspective. Lots of different perspectives are represented from our planning team. But the purpose now is for us to really give some thought to where we think some creative and transformational approaches and curriculum would be starting. But really, the goal of this is to hear from all of you on what we've been working on. Next slide. So our team has been talking about what is transformative, and I don't want to debate what transformative is. I think we all could have our own ideas of what transformative is, but we want our students to be leaving knowledgeable in their field, well-rounded, and be able to thrive and to really lead successful lives with meaning and purpose. And again, these were kind of the lens that we were looking at as we were developing these. Next slide. So we will be discussing today 4 goal areas. And remember, again, this is a bridge plan. So this is 2 years, and then we'll be diving into a full-on strategic plan. So, you know, it's kind of finding that fine line between being ambitious and also being realistic. So some of the areas we've discussed, of course, fall into online programs, experiential learning, student success and retention, and making sure that when our students come to the university from the very first day to graduation, that we are laser focused and student centered in our advising, our instruction, our student services, and our engagement. Next slide. So as we kick this off, and we will have one of our team members facilitate the conversation, and we'll be spending roughly about 15 minutes unless the conversation stops because we run out of things to talk about on each of the 4 goal areas. And as you are thinking about the goals and kind of the ideas that we put out there, be thinking about, you know, what do you think of the goal? What do you think about the action items? Did we miss things? Are we on the right track? And I want to be really clear about something. We've not attached any metrics to these purposely because we see this as a work in progress. We knew that we would be getting a lot of feedback from this. So we didn't want to seem like we were coming in here with all the answers, because really this is just a jumping off point for future conversation and polishing and refining our ideas. Next slide. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Carol, who's going to focus on our first goal, which is our goal 1.
Thank you, Amy. So goal 1 addresses online programs, course recruitment, and marketing. And these are the things we've discussed, the need to expand our online offerings, to enhance our virtual academic and support services. We believe that there's a need to develop a comprehensive strategy for online education and to require all new courses to be Quality Matters certified. Additionally, we want to implement competency-based educational opportunities. We want to determine academic program opportunities through data-driven market research. We've discussed advancing a comprehensive learner-centered online campus experience through the integration of high-quality academic programs. You can see these are all intertwined. Creating a university-wide community of learning designers to promote high levels of course design and consistent student interfaces, creating robust homepage for online program offerings, to expand our B-term options for students, to develop competency-based education or coordinate it better, which includes continuous enrollment up through the first 6 weeks of the semester for mini courses and badges, offering weekend courses and offering asynchronous or synchronous, a good menu of asynchronous and synchronous courses. So that's what we'd like to hear from you about, and we do have 15 minutes just for your responses to these items under the goal.
And Carol, if I may add to this, just to tee this up a little bit, we are in the process of searching for kind of a leader in this area, director, if you will, of online to help drive, you know, some of these very areas. So just to also kind of put that into perspective.
I put the questions in the chat to help guide you or guide your thinking.
Mm-hmm. And if you raise your hand also, we could call on you. You could unmute and speak. Anybody can see. Anyone?
I'll put a cue out there just to
Thank
get
you.
things going. Sure. So as we think about, and this is why I wanted to start the process of hiring someone that could help us with vision and direction in our online. We've had some assessments of our online offerings, and the data has come back showing that we have moderate enrollment in many of our online programs, but not really, huge enrollment in some of our online programs, and that we really have a capacity to pick strategically to, develop new novel programs that are online, or perhaps convert modality of existing programs. And again, we can't do everything, but to be strategic in the way that we select these. This also has a capacity to roll into accelerated programs, adult completion programs. And as we think about the enrollment cliff, and we know, that that's coming, and we've already started seeing some of the results of that, having online programs really allows us to expand our reach outside the state into other states. I know I've done work, for example, with having articulation agreements with community colleges in California, and building those kinds of bridges. So really kind of building out an infrastructure that, has quality, that has, strategic offerings in high demand areas. And one of the other feedback pieces, we had a report done from what's called UPSIA, was to even develop our platform better for our web page, so that, things were easier to find. So if that kind of gives you kind of thinking a little bit about our online situation and where we are, I think that, everybody's starting to compete in this market. But, how do we compete? How do we grow? How do we adapt and evolve and think about our offerings?
There's a lot going on in the chat right now. I guess people don't feel comfortable speaking, but I'll just throw this out, and maybe some people would like to chime in. There's a question about getting adjuncts to create courses that are Quality Matters certified. That is, can we pay them more to do it? And these are questions that I do think need to be considered. Will the Quality Matters requirement be only for new courses, or will we be looking back toward existing courses that are not Quality Matters certified? We have another comment about online programs. It will be important to consider how we evaluate incoming transfer credit, as we know online learners often bring in credit from various institutions and exams. Transferred adult learners will be a key player in online learning realm. And yes, I believe that the committee is considering that, and definitely would like to hear more feedback on that. Y'all can speak, or I can just keep talking. Comment from Mark Anderson: we need to make sure that banner and our catalog are accurate. Yes, as to what we believe to be our online programs, our data does not always match perception. Another comment: I've heard from our community college partners that they wish we offer online programs that they offer online programs in. Also, for working adults who are already with technical associate degree and in the workforce already, online asynchronous courses and programs will help. There's a question for, go ahead.
So yeah, we have a question. Were these developed based on feedback from students, and how were students involved in this?
That's a great question. Again, as we publicize these listening sessions, hopefully there's participation. These are things that we're happy to, again, this is a work in progress. We're happy to run this by student government, other student stakeholders, and get, I know I've talked with Blake Bailey, this SGA president, about online before, and offering opportunities. But you're right, you're absolutely right, and thank you for bringing that up. We can absolutely get more of a student perspective. A lot of this too has come from some of the data that we had seen from our UPSIA report.
And a comment from Seth Gordon. He's saying, this is very broad, but one quick critique. although it's nice to see the range, we need to be able to guarantee a path forward via online. So we say it's possible to do, but is it possible to do?
So it's one thing to say you can finish a degree online here, but it has to be a guarantee. And at this point, if somebody said that to me, I would want to see proof, right? I know that some programs are really well geared towards that and are moving that way. I think management is gearing up an online degree completion program. I know that org leadership is very good at that, but can you come to Wright State entirely online and be able to complete it online? Do we guarantee that? Saying you can, but guaranteeing you can are two different things. And the marketing is about promises, keeping your promises. And right now, I would not encourage a student who needs to go to school entirely online to come to Wright State. That would feel disingenuous to me, right? And so how do we, if we're going to do this, we have to be clear about the paths. And those might be there, but I haven't seen them and I'm not comfortable sharing them until I see them, right? Everybody has to have that confidence that we're doing what we say we're going to do.
I mean, we have a master's in industrial and human factors engineering program that is online completely, can be earned from beginning to end online. We frequently cater to out-of-state students as a result. As a result of that program, our undergraduate industrial and systems engineering, ISE, the last junior and senior year can be earned entirely online because many of the classes are cross-listed with the graduate level, the 4,000 and 6,000, making it completely possible to do the junior and senior year entirely online. So we do have some programs that go to completion.
But can you guarantee that you can do your core classes online, for instance?
For the undergraduates
Yes.
in the 4,000 level, yes, because they're cross-listed with 6,000, and we guarantee that for the 6,000 level.
Right. No, your program is a good example, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm talking about a new prospective student from the base or wants to come here and they have to work during the day. Can they complete all of their courses asynchronously online?
Yes, ours are asynchronous.
But can they complete their gen eds online?
That I can't guarantee. We
Right,
don't
and
guarantee
that's a barrier.
That's where we put the general, the courses that we can't guarantee for the undergraduate are in the first 2 years. But we can for the junior and senior year. Are the ones they need to complete the ISE component courses can all be earned online. But the master's program is entirely online. Unless a student chooses something outside of the program, that's a possibility. It wouldn't be. But our IHE program, we have graduate, was one of the first established, I believe, even in the state of Ohio, being an engineering online program. Back in the day, they used to be captured and videotapes were mailed out to students in the beginning onsets of it. Of course, that's progressed since then. And I don't remember the year it was established. I've been here 15 years and it was already an option when I started here.
Maybe a broader question is, what's the vision for the online programs? Is it more or less a separate program from our on-campus experience, or is it an integrated experience? I know as some of the more popular online programs, I think of Southern New Hampshire and maybe Grand Canyon, they've got an online program that's supplemented by the online program, but the online program is really more of a independently operating institution with its own student support system, with its own offering of courses, own academic calendars within the traditional academic calendar, some of those types of things. So I guess maybe some of those questions would play into the discussion that Seth brought up.
And if I could just chime in for a second, as we're writing these, again, these are just things for you to react to. I think, part of this could come in, Seth, to your response of curricular analytics and really looking at, to your point, and I see Sarah's point in the chat, really looking at degree completion. Do we have enough of the core that is offered online for students to choose from to be able to complete their online degree? So, maybe one of our goal areas or one of our action items is really to do a curricular analytics study of our core to make sure there's enough online courses for students to choose from to be able to complete online degrees. I know when I was at the University of Toledo, for example, we started this and we found that a lot of the online programs that students were delayed in graduating, as an example, because their lab courses weren't being offered online. So as one of their requirements. So I think to your point is very valid that an objective for us could be to actually study the degree pathways and making sure that those are offered on a regular basis. And we all know that we can, I think, acknowledge that we can do better on our 6-year graduation rates, that all plays into some of this, right?
Amy, if I may add here, because I can provide a little bit of history to what was accomplished, to what Seth is talking about, and I think Megan asked the question about the core being online. So this goes back to, I think, that time President Edwards was Provost Edwards, and she said, let's invest some resources into getting the core online. So that was done. Now to Seth's question, which is a valid question, we did it. We created the online courses, but are we now offering them in a way that they're offered consistently, that we can tell a student, yes, you can take the course because it is going to be offered online? And for a little more here, what the direction at that time Provost Edwards gave was, okay, we're going to build the core online. We did, because what we had been facing the limitation was academic departments saying, I would take my program online, but the core is not online. So the core is online. Now it's a question of, are we offering it consistently? And then 2, what has happened in the academic departments? Has enough movement happened there that they have brought the programs online? So yes, the core was fully developed. The A path in the core was developed to be online.
A comment from David Bringhurst that we might want to consider doing a community survey, so that, I mean, our current students are interested in this, but as a recruitment tool, we want to hear from people who aren't here yet, who we want to be here. So, what might make somebody come here if we were offering more online programs, for example?
Time is up for goal 1.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
Excellent.
I will help lead the discussion around goal 2. And again, we're just presenting what we have discovered so far as a team and what we've outlined, and we're seeking, feedback, suggestions, revisions, what have we missed, et cetera. So the second goal that we were focusing on is to increase our community engagement and experiential learning opportunities for students. We see this as a very important retention initiative, and really giving students ownership over their education and their personal and professional development. So as you can see, trying to work toward what we're calling an experiential learning guarantee that some universities have been establishing. Obviously, this is a goal that would have a lot of work behind it, but really working to assure both curricular and co-curricular experiences require teamwork, leadership, problem solving, creative thinking. All of these experiences kind of make the educational studies all come alive. Explore the feasibility of establishing an Office of Community Engagement and Experiential Learning. We've had various offices that touched on that before and had that focus, but this would have a little bit of a different spin to it, but really geared toward making sure we can promote and ideally eventually guarantee experiential learning opportunities of a very wide range. Reapply for the Carnegie Community Engagement Designation. Those of you who've been here a while know that that really used to be one of the big feathers in our cap at Wright State, that because of service learning opportunities and because of the emphasis that we were able to have, again, curricular and co-curricular, that was the designation we achieved. We'd like to aspire to receive that designation again. This would require increasing the number of courses that have that designation. Expand not only local but also global engagement through strategic partnerships and community relationships. Obviously, and we talked about this with the online issue, we need to make sure that we communicate that to the community and to prospective and current students very well, ideally through a centralized web access link. Mapping out experiential learning opportunities by semester and year so that the programs can very accurately recommend, kind of along Seth's points earlier, where we could say that this is a possibility, but is it really an actuality? Embedding experiential learning within academic programs, transcripting experiential learning so that students see where that is formal academic credit for which they are receiving credit and making progress toward their degree. And again, in thinking about the broad range of experiential learning opportunities, this would include service learning, education abroad opportunities, and a wide array. Connecting to organizations, industry, and commercial partners. Aligning prior learning assessment is something that we've been trying to focus on more and more, and that as we talked about with transfer students and adult learners, they come with these experiences. Try to align that as experiential learning and recognize that in a formally transcripted way. And then promoting discussion about what would be the minimum number of hours we would want to promote for students to be able to develop those experiential learning opportunities. So this is what we've been able to develop so far as a team, and look forward to feedback. Again, people can certainly engage through the chat, but also feel welcome to unmute yourself or also use the icon at the bottom of your screen to raise your hand. We're here to listen to your feedback.
There's a comment from Seth in the chat. Given the realities around the fiscal needs of our students, I'd like to offer that another commitment would be to prioritize, when feasible or possible, that experiential opportunities should be paid experiences. And I think I saw David seconding that. Seth adds the paid opportunities expands equity.
Definitely noted. It's so important. And we see, some of the colleges and programs that might be already a part of it, but I think that's a really important reality that we need to be aware of. So thank you for raising that.
And then a comment from Rachel. As we think about adding service learning designations, we should be sure to consider how the designation may impede transfer student progress if that designation is considered when evaluating equivalent credit. As I know, I believe we do have a service learning designation. It's a little bit, lies a little fallow right now. And I'm not sure if it was ever a requirement or just something that was an addition. But certainly if we're making it a required designation, we would need to think about that in the same way we think about other tags. And whether this would be in the GE area or in the major area would be something else to consider for that, whether it has an impact on OT 36.
December, thanks for bringing up that point about state support that we have now for internships and seeking if we could find something like that service learning and other experiential learning opportunities. I think that's a great idea. Other suggestions, things we have not yet considered, or other potential action items to be explored? Am I missing anybody's hand being up? Are there other opportunities for some of the community engagement side of this goal that you believe we've missed?
There's a comment in the chat.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Steph had,
So be it.
Steph had built the education of these opportunities into our core classes.
So yesterday after the mental health task force, I took Dr. Thompson's lead, and I told my students, hey, I'm going to ask you a super mega important question in class, and then I just said, how are you doing? And then I shared with them our resources of like where to find help. Like if you type in, we created this webpage, wright.edu/help. There's a page that literally has everything. And this is sort of the same thing that I'm thinking. Like I've been talking to the students, asking them their majors, what their plans are. And as an example, I was talking to a student, she says, I really want to do social work. And I was like, the competitive internships for this summer start now, right? And those are the kinds of questions, things that you need to build into places where students will see them because it's not obvious. I love this list. And I went to Antioch College, so co-op was built in, and this is how I learned, right? So, but educating people of how to do that well is challenging, right? So, I hope that you gotta keep pressuring them to find the resources. So that's all.
Seth, I think that's really crucial, what you just brought up about building this in the core classes. And I like what Hideo and others are doing about connecting these goals together, because one of the other goals is going to highlight the need for first-year seminars. And really what we're getting at is we need to make sure that we're communicating these opportunities and linking these opportunities at every potential opening. And I think that that's just really smart. And so many times, just a comment, what might be perceived to be a very simple question, ends up opening opportunities that people just hadn't considered before. So I really like that. I see the point about the online experience and that should be very comparable. I think that's a really important point. And really like what people have said too about connecting the general education and core, thinking about what the opportunities are there and how those might be similar to and different from upper level opportunities.
Can I just add, I think, and I'm new, so this may be happening already, but I think the important thing is, how are we also helping find ways to connect the community to the campus, right? And create these partnerships to make it easier for faculty to embed some of these experiences. And, some universities are using what we call major maps that are also talking about, other opportunities for students to engage in community engagement, experiential learning. So think of your plan of study, right? And say a 4-year plan of study. And here's what you should be doing each semester. And then overlaying what we call major maps that suggests each semester what would be some things that you could do to get some, additional skills or experiences or things that you can do, right? So that's considered to be something that's a high impact practice, because the more the student gets their hands wet, with things in their major or their field, they're getting usually really excited about that. And they're transferring those learning experiences, into their knowledge base. So, those are things for us to be thinking about. And again, some of these things, and I saw a comment, might not be doable in 2 years, but I think as we take your comments and build about them, we can be thinking about how this kind of all integrates.
So there's some comments in the chat about from Megan, how you mix first year experiences with experiential learning or potentially with integrated writing. And Rachel's adding, as we think about first year seminars, what does that look like for transfer students? How do we honor what people have done in other places? And I know that we are talking a lot about first year experience now. And we're talking about that with the core revision too. And so I would like to just throw a quick pitch in here. They also send ideas about this to Brian Boyd or me, Sarah McGinley, because we're on the core review committee. So a lot of these questions have an impact on the core. So if you've got ideas for these that you think tie to core classes, please send them along to us, because we're looking at the potential place of something like a first year seminar and how it might fit into the core or be adjacent to the core if it's something that OT 36 does not accommodate. But just a slight self-serving pitch in there, because we've got a lot of initiatives going along in parallel. So as we look at the core, please also send us comments that tie to this.
Other comments or areas that we might have overlooked, or if you want to dig deeper, I think this idea that I believe Rachel brought up about the co-curricular transcript. I know some other universities, that's a really central part of their educational experience. So that might be something worth looking into. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit more, Rachel, or share some experiences. And Roth is telling us we have 3 minutes left on this goal. So this is the time to please feel welcome and speak up.
Sure. So my experience with that is with IUPUI, which is about to be formerly known as, but IUPUI in Indianapolis, Indiana, they were establishing a co-curricular transcript, a STAR transcript that went in parallel and was released anytime a student requested an official academic transcript as well. It included those things like study abroad and those documentable service learning experiences, but events or leadership academies and things like that took place on campus also were able to submit for those designations to be included on that co-curricular transcript, so long as they showed evidence of meeting the specific requirements of one of those designations. And so I can see what I can do to find that and send those along.
I really appreciate that you brought that up, because I think, I've heard many employers talk about and seek some of those from students, and it's just a perfect way. It's a transcripting again, right? It's a perfect way to communicate the combination of these life experiences and these skills. So thank you very much for adding that to this discussion, Rachel.
Seth has an idea that maybe if we carefully design it, we could build service learning opportunities onto weekends to try and it would also help invigorate the weekend community on campus, and also maybe an incentive for people to stay on campus over the weekends to come back. So one of the issues is I think Seth is getting at with commuter students, this can be a real uphill challenge sometimes to get folks to stay involved after hours and at the weekends.
Actually, it's that a lot of people go home on the weekends, and there's not a lot of opportunities to. We don't have, because we are a commuter campus, it doesn't seem, and I don't know this per se, but I've just been reading some of the comments that, it's a lot of people go home, and so there's not a lot of community on campus, which means there's not a lot of engagement. Engagement leads to retention, right? You want to make people feel like they belong and have something. You have to build the opportunities for them to create the connections that keep them here, and that's and service is a really wonderful way to do that. So.
Thank you. I will turn it over then. I think we're at time, so we'll move toward goal 3.
All right, I think I'm discussing or helping to facilitate this piece of it. So goal 3 looks at implementing innovative, flexible, and accelerated programs and credentials. Things like developing bridge programs, and what we had kicked around there is adults. How do we help adults transitioning into the university or transfer students, as well as first year direct from high school students? So we really want to look at that adult and transfer as well. Utilizing data-driven approaches to develop high-demand curricular programs. This was also discussed in the online piece in goal 1, and other people have commented throughout. I think this is very important to reach out to current partners, potential partners, both business, students, whatever. developing some kind of micro credentialing programming. And that would be really what do businesses want? What can we do for them and their students? Looking at that, implement more accelerated degree programs, enhanced interdisciplinary courses and programs to address the grand challenges of society. And there's many. Just one example is in COSM, we have closed down the Earth and Environmental Science program, and now it's in a variety of programs, and it's considered an interdisciplinary program. We're looking at how that's going to work and what that's going to look like, but that's what a lot of people want. I think that helps students. So considering that, using that prior learning assessment, but making it standardized for students. How do we help them as they come in with other learning? And then creating more of these 7-8 week programs, which also goes back to this online expanding B-term offerings, but that's whether it's online or a face-to-face, expanding more of that, allowing students to get that fresh start, getting more of the 3+2 or 4+1 programs available for students, and then possibly exploring opportunities for a winter or May intersession, something probably online. How can questions around that, how can financial aid, is that something that's covered? We were concerned that there might be difficulties there. So that's what we were thinking. So what do you think? Are there action items we need to consider? What are we missing here? Are we on the right track? Let us know.
I'll say this out loud so that it doesn't get misconstrued through typing or texting or whatever. So I'm looking at the final bullet here about intercessions, and I just want to say, and I realize that this is complex at a lot of levels, but we have an entire summer semester that goes largely unused, and it's a significant period of time where the campus is, pretty ghostly other than full-time staff who are here, and we do have courses that are being offered and that kind of stuff. And that's looked different the last few years, obviously with COVID and that kind of stuff too. So there might be a little bit of recency bias in this comment that, things have been even more vacant than they were prior to. But that's a significant chunk of time, and I think the world that we're living in is very much a 12-month world, right? And yet we have a sort of old school, literally, view of academics as taking place in a 9-month calendar. And again, I know that there's all sorts of complexities to that with contracts and need for time for research and preparation, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that's another time period that we should investigate as well, where we don't necessarily have to, and again, pardon the language, really sort of cram some stuff in, right? Because these intercession things, there are things that probably are appropriate for those areas that a 2, 3, 4 week time period, depending on how we're framing that, might work. But as we know, education isn't, it's not a production line, right? Like learning takes sometimes a process, and even though we can mechanically make something take place in a short period of time, the actual learning doesn't necessarily happen that way. So anyway, that's.
Can I jump in about this? So our thinking behind this, and other institutions have successful intercessions, like Kent State, I think, has a Maymester, et cetera. This, if we explored this, I think would be very tailored and specialized to a couple of ideas. So one, I think rolling into the experiential learning piece could be getting credit during, let's say, over Christmas break or holiday break, or even a term before spring, summer, for study abroad or experiential learning trips abroad, etc. So that's one way institutions use it. The other way some institutions will use it to help with graduation rates will be that, and I'm just giving this as an example, let's say that when classes let out in early December, and let's say you start an online program or an online course for students that might have failed key courses that they have to take, and you don't want them left behind. And so you run it for the 4, let 5 or 6 weeks over break, and it might overlap the start of the term, but you allow the student who maybe needed, that remediation to actually be able to continue in their program or plan of study. And it's very targeted so that they don't have to wait, an entire semester because they have that one class that they did poorly in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's the key to it, right? Is that picking the right types of things to do in the right time frames, and for the right purposes, right? So yeah, that's sounded great, actually.
Well, and I see a comment from Seth. We need to explore how to lean into the fact that earning your degree faster is not always feasible, right, for adults or non-traditional students. Can we explore programs that support those who need to go more slowly? And so, Seth, do you mean like perhaps you're taking your calculus, but you need to take it over a year instead of a semester? Is that what I'm not sure
So
if that's what you mean.
I've said this before, it always feels a little strange to say it out loud, but if you do the math, our program, our model privileges those people that can take 15 credits a semester hour, and it's cheaper for them. And so literally, if you have to take 5 or 6 years because you can't go full time, because you have to work, so the people that need to work more and have to go slower spend an extra $10,000 every year that they're here, right? Because your cost per credit hour goes down when you hit that 12-point mark, right? So if you hit 15, you're paying like it goes down to like $385, right? And if you're taking 18, but if you're taking 9 or less, you're paying $486 a credit hour, right? And so if you want to attract a non-traditional population that has kids, that has to work, taking more classes, which I appreciate the data and the focus on and trying to get people to do more, is an approach that ignores the fact that working adults or working students, which is really a large part of our population, can't go that fast. So can you do programs that say, lean into the fact that, look, if you're 9 credits and you're doing well, we're going to support you financially and incentivize that so their cost per credit hour starts to match the people that are actually have the resources and the ability to go and take 15 credit hours per semester, right? So it's one thing to focus on people going faster, and I get that, and I think that's important. It's hugely important for the veteran students who have the capacity to go to school full time as adults because their benefits pay them to be here, right? They're subsidized to be here. But other adult students don't have that opportunity. And so if you want to grow that market, how do you do that in a way that financially incentivizes that for them? That's what I'm talking about.
Sure, thanks. Yeah.
Comment.
Yeah, so that Nick suggested something tuition rate for 30 hours over a year from August to May rather than 15 and 15. Or maybe it's X number of hours over an academic year, perhaps. Especially now that we're
August
looking
to
at
July, not
sorry.
August to May. So
Sure, so
I
that
think
makes sense also. But also, yeah, looking at now we're allowing students to register for a full year. If you register for a full year and you have X number of credit hours, maybe that decreases your cost too. I don't know.
So Rachel has a comment about career readiness courses and of sort of 1 or 2 credit hour courses be very successful during 3-week terms, end of fall or last 3 weeks just before spring break, for example. And I'll say that back in the day when we were on quarters, I did used to teach a business writing class in, I think it was 3 weeks over winter break. And that was always very well enrolled. So I know in the past, Wright State has done that. But again, that might be just the everyday syndrome. I'm probably thinking 20 years ago now. But I know that there was once upon a time a demand for it here.
Okay, and then Francesca had mentioned trimesters, which was something we had kind of kicked around. I don't know if that comes up in goal 4, or if we just didn't put it on here, but yeah, something to consider there.
Sarah's recall about the winter intersession, or I think we just called it winter session, back in the day reminds me too that as we talk about these things, we need to be aware of the implications for the support units around this as well, and the budgetary needs. So for example, I'm thinking about my areas with tutoring and the Writing Center and Math Learning Center. If we're targeting certain time periods and we're targeting certain groups of students, but other groups of students have now left, and those are our student employees who are providing services during those times. I mean, I'm just anecdotally, I think that there were any number of students who would welcome the opportunity to be continued to be employed during that time. But that has budget ramifications, and it also has staffing ramifications at the professional level as well. You know, we're talking about, December is a time where people tend to take a lot of their leave that is coming to them because there's opportunities for that. So as we fill these gaps, again, all good intentions there, but we need to think about the ramifications up and down the pipeline of support for that as well.
That's an important point. Thank you for sharing that. I think, again, if we did something like that, it would have to be we would have to pilot it. We would have to be very targeted. I absolutely agree.
There's another comment that from Raghu, the 120-hour credit limit may not work across the board. Most engineering programs in the country and the states have a larger credit hour requirement. And I would say this is something that when we've been discussing the core has come up a lot, is the pressure that is on our programs to include the required GE courses and the required major courses is quite tough with that 120 hours. And I appreciate the reasons that we have those 120 hours is to be able to keep people, moving on and graduating and so on. But I don't know whether that is also something that needs to revisit.
Well, if I can chime in a little bit more, we got almost to the point of resolving this pre-COVID. And then COVID put a stop on all discussions, and the provost at that time left soon after. Just a comment.
All right, other comments that I might have missed?
Time is now up.
Oh, okay. I
Go
guess not. Thanks, Wafa.
I believe the chat with comments also get recorded along with the audio for this. So if we have missed something, I believe we can go back and double check on that. If not, I think maybe if we quickly grab and copy and paste the chat before we close out to make sure that we've got a transcript of anything that we've missed. I'll try doing that. And if another person tries doing that, we can be sure that we've grabbed those too.
Yeah, I'm capturing it. Laura's capturing it. And Raghu, I've captured all of the oral comments. I'm typing them all up. So Raghu, your comment will be taken seriously and into consideration. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Goal 4. Amanda, is she here? Amanda?
I'm sorry. I was presenting for so long, I forgot I was muted, and I got like halfway through my session. No, I'm kidding. I didn't talk that fast.
Okay.
But that's embarrassing. Sorry. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm going to be talking about our ideas that we came up with around Goal 4. I'm going to, since I'm sharing in presentation mode, I can't see the chat at all, really. So I'm going to rely on my teammates to, when the chats come up, if you could kind of read those out or call them and we can all discuss. So our Goal 4 is improving student success and retention rates. The first one, a very popular topic that we spoke about previously around Goal 2, is requiring a first-year experience course for all students. And we had a lot of discussion on this. We know there's a lot of factors in terms of if it's a transfer student or a lot of, non-traditional students, adult learners, et cetera. We know there's a lot of different variables involved, and if anything, we probably spent maybe half a meeting on multiple occasions talking about this. So we know there's a lot of factors to consider, but we continually came back to the idea of how important it is and something that we don't want to fall off of our radar. So we wanted to put that on there for sure. Also, implementing an equity champion program for faculty to enhance teaching. Enhancing opportunities offered for faculty development from the Center for Teaching Excellence. Also, regularly distributing DFW rates and data to faculty as well, and conducting a DFW and data-driven best practice training webinar on campus. Implementing college retention committees. So university-wide, but then also embedded into the colleges, enhancing the enrolled student experience, establishing fall to spring and fall to fall retention goals for first-year students and transfer students, as well as establishing college-level retention goals based on the campus-wide goals. So the retention committees in the colleges, as well as the retention goals for the colleges based on the university-wide goals. So those are the items that we wanted to explore more around Goal 4, and we are excited to hear your thoughts.
I'll just try to get people talking. That's my job. So we've had a lot of conversation around the first year experience. And as you look at our cohort retention rates, they are low compared to many of our peers. And so we're really trying to look at as many levers as we can to help that retention rate during the first year. And as you look at high impact practices, first year experience courses, seminars are one of the very effective ways of doing that. And there's lots of data that talks about what should be in a first year experience. A lot of the information out there talks about having them embedded in a college so the student actually connects to the college, starts to see themselves in the college, gets to explore different majors within the college, and yet they have some shared learning outcomes. Well, the dilemma becomes, and this is where we've had a lot of conversation, and it's actually, I think, a good time given the revision and the core that's happening right now, is how do you institutionalize something like that? Because if you try to do it separately, it becomes, basically every program has to have program modification. And so we've had a lot of conversation of if we were to do this, what it would look like, how would it happen? How could each, college have some, their hands in this and shaping this? And so we've had conversation about what would that look like if it was actually embed that in the core. And I know Sarah's on that committee and working with Brian. But I think there could be a real opportunity here for us to really differentiate ourselves in how we approach a first year experience and talking, some of you know this, we just started a mental health task force. Mental health is the second reason commonly students dropping out. And some of that has to do with also just capacity to deal with stress, coping, growth mindset, resiliency, some of the things that, can very easily be talked about in a first year experience kind of course. So just putting that out there to get a conversation going.
I'll jump in too, if I can, while the comments are being typed up, to say that I'm pleased to say that the first cohort of equity champions will be announced shortly. And we're very excited about the programming that the Center for Faculty Excellence will be offering to this group over the course of the year. And yes, we are working on enhancing opportunities for faculty development. There will be a curriculum design, course design workshop offered during during the finals week this fall. I know we're offering some support. We're beginning to offer support for faculty on their scholarship, including the PDL workshop that happened earlier this week. So keep those ideas coming. I think this is a good opportunity for the center, which rebranded itself last year, to begin to have a real impact in faculty's lives.
Kind of building on Seth's point, I mean, if our mission is to, you know, have students engage the communities where they serve, right? An FYE could be a way for us to brand ourselves in that field. Whether, you know, within the major, if you have an FYE, you target it towards community problems that, you know, a particular major or discipline can deal with. And so on top of dealing with the typical FYE materials, you can integrate, you know, introductions to fields of study, but also that community engagement aspect could be in there as well, which I think is interesting.
And I see Gina's comment in there about outside the classroom. Wholly agree with you. I mean, again, the more they can get involved with things, it's just because our group was really focused on that transformational curricular experience. So, you know, that's more of what we were charged with. But I think as part of that curricular experience, you know, embedding, you know, like in an FYE, you know, getting to know your campus and the activities that are happening on a regular basis.
I'm probably a bad messenger for this message in some ways. FYE report, or not, yeah, FYE, particularly first year seminars, reported to me for a while. So I actually had an opportunity to move the marker on this and didn't. So take that as you know, an honest assessment of my own contribution there. But one of the things that was difficult and challenging in this is that first year seminars, and I'm going to not speak to all the things that might be in a first year experience, but just the first year seminars here, is those courses, there were always pressures from a wide variety of places. Everybody wanted to put everything into that course, right? So it became, and by the way, for all good reasons, it just was, practically speaking, not possible to really do enough in each area to make it substantive. And one of the things that I noticed from the students that I worked with in that, I really think that in order to have this be something, I mean, we can make it mandatory and that kind of stuff, but for students to truly engage in it, you know, sometimes I think we think of students as this other set of beings, but they're human beings, right? And they are sometimes young and inexperienced, but they still are practical in a lot of ways, and they want something to be meaningful to them and valuable to them, right? So we think in terms of how to get students engaged on campus, which is a good goal. We think about the mental health side. We would have people come from career services and talk about things, but it tended to be this sort of piecemeal, like, okay, this week we're talking about this week we're talking about this week we're talking about this. And at least under my auspices, I don't feel like we did a very good job of how do we put what's the through line there, right? Like, can we build a narrative in a sense for students so that they come in with the idea that all of these things play within a context that's important to them. So coping skills, understanding how to engage with the campus, having opportunities for these other experiences, how does that connect to their career, for example, and to their programs of study? So this is where, you know, I think some of these things being in the colleges is really important, because you can have people who actually know what that discipline is about and the different places, right? Because some students may be coming to us to prepare themselves for an academic profession, and their needs in the classroom and the kinds of learning that they do might be different than those who are going to go out and do this in the work world and that kind of stuff. So I think I think we need to resist the very understandable urge to pack a lot in. It needs to be targeted towards something that students will perceive as having some real practical value to them, not just in the moment, but projecting out into the future as well. And again, bad messenger for that message, because I couldn't figure out how to do it. But I think it's important that we do figure out how to do it.
Thank you for those comments. And I think actually, if we were to do this, we would want to consult you and what you learned and what worked and what didn't work, right? And you know, now there's been a lot of work and research on other institutions that have been able to have this move their needle. So I think there's a lot of things that we can consult to try to make it better, but your perspective would be invaluable in this. Thank you.
There's some comments in the chat.
So I'm going to react to something that Gina put about why students are leaving. You know, as we kind of even look at just withdrawing, right? We have a group working right now just on some of our policies and practices, trying to look at that very issue. As we look at withdrawing, there's not even a form that people are filling out to say why they're withdrawing. So, you know, I think we can be better on how some of this data is collected and how we're using that to inform our practices. So I wholeheartedly agree with that.
A big part of it, in my opinion, with some basis for the opinion, is it's financial. I was looking at retention rates yesterday and comparing the data that's out on the Ohio Higher Ed website with tuition rates, right? So it's kind of a weird, looking to see if there was any correlation there. And if you look at the universities with the highest retention rates, with the exception of Ohio State, which has, I think if I'm remembering correctly, like the 7th highest tuition, but the best retention rate. But with them as sort of an exception on the high side, there's a pretty direct correlation between tuition rates and retention rates. Now, is that, I mean, you know, the obvious takeaway from that, which is not necessarily an accurate takeaway, is, you know, the finances of the institution are driven in large part by tuition rates. And so, you know, do you have enough resources to provide the value that students are looking for, and are they staying? But I think the other piece of it is the choices that students make up front. What can I afford to do? And I think a lot of students, and I say this, even those who are, you know, doing consultations with their parents, I think a lot of students underestimate the kind of financial resources they need in order to sustain their academic progress. And so while it's true that we don't really gather the information about why students leave, I think a big part of that, I think we underestimate the part that finances plays in that. And so all of these solutions that we're looking at and the things that we're looking at in our strategies, I think we've got to look for ways to help students sustain themselves financially, because one of the biggest things that competes with the time that they spend on task here at the university in engagement, whether it's in the classroom or out of the classroom, et cetera, is, and I hear this from students regularly, is, oh, I would do that, but I've got to work. Or I would, I'd work on campus, but this other job pays me more money, or whatever, right? They are making these life choices in ways that, even 30, 40 years ago, they were at a distance from a little bit, but more and more and more, these students are actually engaging with the financial, at least, realities of life. And so if we can't affect that, and I think we're an institution that attracts a lot of those students. So we're in a bit of a bind in a way, because we're attractive to them because we're a less expensive option, but that has an impact on how much support we can provide them potentially as well. So I don't know how we square that circle, but anyway, for whatever that's worth, I think it's the financial piece is something that we need to look at for students.
And the time is up.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap this up, and this has been incredibly valuable, getting your perspective on all of this. Is there anything that you would like to share with us, or is there anything that you would like to help us prioritize based on the 4 goals that we have presented to you, which are listed below? Anything all that you'd like to add to the conversation? Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about next steps then, if you could go to the next slide. First of all, again, thank you for this great conversation. And if this is a lot to digest and absorb. And so if you have additional thoughts, we welcome them. And again, you're helping us shape this. And so if you have comments, additional questions, thoughts, WAFA has agreed to kind of be our conduit for this, and we'll bring this to our group. So her email, of course, is listed there on the slide. Please send those to them. You're welcome to reach out to me, of course, as well. But our group will take all of this back and start to work and polish and take everything that you brought to us. But thank you again for taking this a little over an hour and 11 minutes with us. And we're all in this together, right? We want to help use this as a roadmap to move the university forward. So thank you again for being with us, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.